Hey, it's me, Vicki Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, I just wanted to make this video. We've got the Slater documentary coming up next Sunday, 28th of September on Channel 4. And I don't know if you know, but Jay's mum is trying to get involved in this campaign for a new law called Jay's Law, to call it Jay's Law, because she's so unhappy about the coverage, that Jay's case invoked on social media, the conspiracy theories. It did reach a ridiculous sort of heights, if you like, or lows, probably better to say. Just felt like some creators were just making anything up just to get a few more clicks out of it. Just horrible. If you just have to put yourself in the family's position, if it was you and it was your loved one, your son, your brother, imagine people just taking over like that and saying all these awful things that they were saying, not only saying awful things about Jay and what might have happened to him, but awful things about the family, especially Debbie. Jay's mum, Debbie, came in for the worst treatment, didn't she? Just foul, really. But anyway, there you go. Sometimes that happens. It's like a mass hysteria. We all, as a creator myself, we all want to report on this. I reported on Jay's case from the minute he went missing, but I hope that I reported on it like decently, just with facts and evidence, not with some of the crazy things that were being talked about at the time, or if I did mention them, it was to say how crazy they were. It must be awful, really, to have your own loved one hijacked like that. And anyway, I'm not just blaming social media. I think the mainstream media had a lot to do with it as well. It was a story that sold at the end of the day, and people that are in media, that's what they're there for, I suppose. For any YouTuber, including me, or TikToker, they people don't make YouTube or TikTok videos so that nobody watches them. Having said that, I think you have to be able to sleep at night. When I make a video, I don't make it for the clicks. If it gets lots of clicks, that's brilliant, fantastic. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't make it for that. I don't make it trying to follow the algorithm or trying to attract attention. I make it because it's something that I think is important to say, which is why I'm making this one. So I don't know if you know, but anyway, what we're going to look at is a Daily Mail article about this. I mean, I've seen it in a few publications, just easier to show this one, to be honest. But yeah, of course, they bring Nicola Bulley into it, which is typical. And I think maybe with the Nicola Bulley case, that was sort of as I was starting off on my true crime channel. I think there is like a mass hysteria that goes on. It's hard to explain. It's like infectious, isn't it? With some cases, maybe it's whipped up deliberately. I don't know, but odd, really. Oh, there's my little dog coming to say hello. He's a bit nervous, Riley, today because there's been some thundering, and he doesn't like storms, doesn't like the noise and that, so he's a little bit clingy, let's say. Okay, so Jay Slater's grieving mother is calling for tighter laws to stop armchair detectives spreading misinformation 15 months on from his death. So, Debbie Duncan, whose son Jay died on June 17th last year, is supporting Jay's law, which would clamp down on those spreading falsehoods about missing people online. She wants to see the proposal debated in Parliament, and it has already been backed by her Labour MP, Sarah Smith. And it comes as Jay's death is still being used by conspiracy theorists to post misleading videos about him online, despite a coroner's ruling of accidental death at his July 2025 inquest. And Ms. Duncan, 57, told the Mirror it was shocking that content creators are still milking his case by going over the same talking points to this day. The heartbroken mother, who had Jay via IVF. Apparently, I didn't know that. Not that it makes any difference. Due to troubles conceiving, said she is all for freedom of speech, but not when it becomes misinforming and speaking badly about a family who are grieving. And, and I do agree with her. Freedom of speech, people talk about it a lot these days, don't they? Bang on about it. But freedom of speech is not being nasty to people, in my opinion. You've not got the freedom of speech to incite hate or aggression or be nasty to someone who's grieving over their son who fell down a ravine and they're bringing back home in a body bag. I don't feel that you can call that free speech. And as I've said many times, a lot of these people who are all for free speech, but when it comes to anybody who disagrees with them, then they don't believe in free speech anymore. But anyway, this is what she's saying. I can't even imagine how because don't forget these stories, crime stories that we report on, cases that we talk about, that we discuss. For us, although hopefully we empathise with the victims and the families, they don't affect our lives directly, do they? I mean, we get up in the morning, I didn't know Jay personally, wasn't living in my house, but imagine if that would have been my son. Now Debbie has to get up every morning and he's not there and miss all the things that there used to be, good and bad, of having a young son around and living in your house. There's good, there's bad. I bet, my personal experience with bereavement, you do tend to miss some of the bad things the most. You'd give anything, they didn't bring the pots down from their room, or they didn't wash up, or they made a mess in the kitchen. You'd love to see that again if something happened to them and you could not see it anymore, even though it's irritating when it's happening, isn't it? It's like all the things about, to me, every photo that I've seen of Debbie with Jay, they look very close as well. It's very sad. So apprentice bricklayer Jay of Oswald Twistle, Lancashire, was on holiday in Tenerife with two friends when he died. So this was from the inquest. Of course, Debbie's wearing green because green is Jay's colour, isn't it? And of course, there's cameras there because they were filming this documentary. A lot of people criticised Debbie for this. But don't forget, it's not just Debbie, it's Warren as well. Jay's dad, they'll have all given consent to it. I mean, we'll see what the documentary is about, won't we? On Sunday, we'll see how it transpires, and what are the reasons, for one in the document. What I've found from the cases I've covered is people deal with grief in such different ways. Some families that are grieving, they just don't want to speak to any media, or they don't want an interview. They don't want any publicity whatsoever. And others want as much publicity as possible because they want to tell their story. That's part of their way of dealing with the grieving process. So I don't think, you can criticise them for that. That's her choice. She's making the documentary and that's it. So there's a lovely picture of Jay. I mean, the thing is, every picture of Jay's always got this lovely smile on his face, hasn't he? And as we know, Jay had been through his difficult times. He wasn't an angel. as who is, but he turned his life around and he was doing well, and this was his first holiday just without his family, like just with his friends. So yeah, first holiday without his friends. He'd been partying hard at the Energy Musical Festival and Papagayo nightclub in Playa de las Americas. After the event died down, he got into a car with two men he'd met on the holiday and drove to an Airbnb in the village of Masca, around 20 miles away. He later phoned his friend Lucy Law, saying he was lost in the mountains, and his other friend Bradley Goigan, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it doesn't matter really, to tell them he was trekking home after missing a bus. When he failed to resurface, he was reported missing, which led to the case quickly capturing the attention of the British public and thousands across the world. But before long, dozens of conspiracy theories about Jay's whereabouts were posted online. Some of the theories posited that he'd been kidnapped by drug dealers, murdered in the mountains after losing a bag of drugs. Others claimed he'd staged his own death. A young lad from Oswestwhistle, it's like he's some sort of fantastic criminal. Anyway, never mind. According to Miss Duncan, some conspiracy theories even asked whether the right body had been buried after his funeral. Sarah Smith MP praised Ms Duncan for putting up with the abuse, but called upon tech companies to clean up their platforms to allow families compassion, privacy and protection. It makes you wonder if one day there'll be this thing on. I mean, you should have to be accountable, I think. Social media is a little bit like the Wild West sometimes. I've seen some things, especially on TikTok. I've seen some good things on TikTok as well, don't get me wrong. But people really, there is no accountability whatsoever. Probably the same on YouTube. I don't know, though. YouTube's quite strict, though. TikTok's supposed to be strict, but some of the things I've seen on TikTok, and they just flash up, and before you know it, you've seen it and you can't unsee it. So there's got to be some accountability, surely. And people just making things up. You could make anything up. I could say anything. And, people don't seem to think evidence is necessary. It's odd. But when it comes to like things, that they think evidence should be necessarily, like they expect evidence all the time, like from the police and from this, that and the other. But they don't, but they'll accept what a TikToker says without question. It's really quite odd, isn't it? Now, I do think it's strange that he ended up in this place in the first place. But, I wasn't there. I don't think we're ever going to find out the full story. They probably don't. Ayub and Rocky, who he went there with, either one, if there was like a nefarious reason that he went back there, like if it's to do with drugs or whatever, I don't know, all the different theories that people come out with. They're never going to tell, they're not going to say that, are they? The other thing I often think is, do they even really remember what happened? If you're on a night out and you've been drinking and you've been taking substances, etc., would they even remember, the facts of what happened? It's just these nights out, sometimes they're just a blur, aren't they? And you do things that seem like a good idea at the time. And normally you're lucky enough to wake up the next morning and think, oh my God, what the hell did I do that for? Or why am I here? And I do think Jay thought that, and then he thought he could walk home for whatever reason, because he's a young lad, and young lads, they think they're omnipotent. They think he wouldn't have even thought anything could happen to him. He's used to walking home in Oswestwhistle, not in this through ravines. That's Lucy, isn't it? She got a phone call from him. people saying she's a drugs mule and this, that, and that. Well, maybe she is. I literally do not know. She's not going to turn around, is she, and say, yes, I'm a drugs mule. So just, it's unfortunate, really. People can say anything about you, and, you know, they don't have to prove it. Anyway, on June the 17th at 1 a.m., Jay was pictured at the Papagayo Beach nightclub. I mean, he looks completely out of it, doesn't he? Then this is supposedly the Snapchat that he sent from the Airbnb, just in Masca. 8 a.m. he was spotted at the bus stop outside the Airbnb. And then what was the next one? So 8 a.m. 8:15 he called his friend Lucy to say he was lost in the mountains with no water and 1% battery. And that was the last he was heard of. And then at 8:50 his phone pinged for the final time. And then a long time after that, wasn't it? It was a month, wasn't it? That he was missing, June 17th to the 15th of July. His body was found by the police in a mountainous area. So, Miss Duncan, I think that's supposed to be, not Dundon, said she's reported some of the content creators to major platforms like Facebook and YouTube for misinformation, but she claims none of the posts were taken down. They never, listen, I've reported 1 million videos, no, not that many, but some videos that I've seen that have, not necessarily about Jay, all sorts of ones, that I thought that have displayed violence, or just like, well, there was one that I reported this morning, I'm trying to think which one it was, just the hate that was in it. There was so much hate in it, I had to report it. They won't get taken down. They never get taken down. It's rare, I think, they ever do. You know, what was that one, that YouTube video that was up that was supposed to be Nicola Bulley's body floating upside down in the river? It was left up for ages. It wasn't Nicola Bulley, but it was some poor soul, probably. So Jay's case has drawn comparison to the disappearance of mum of two, Nicola Bulley, 45, on January the 27th, 2023. Now, I do feel that Jay's case is different to Nicola's, because Nicola disappeared. Nicola was 45 years old. You know, she wasn't, to me, I could always see it with Jay that a young lad would get lost. I was always hoping that he would, maybe tripped up or just got lost and he would get found and he would be okay. But, with Nicola, it was different, wasn't it? She talked about a mum of two, just dropped her girls off at school, took her dog for a walk like she normally did, disappeared into thin air. So I do think it's a completely different case, to be honest. Also, there was, Peter Fraudlin, he got involved in the Nicola Bulley case, and tried to infer that there was some, foul play or whatever. He made it all worse. Just a conspiracy of events, I think. In the Nicola Bulley case, there was a lot of strange. Personally, I think Nicola Bulley's case was much stranger. But maybe it wasn't, there's I do think it's a case, how can I put it? It's different. It's completely different from Jay's case. It's the same in the social media storm or the media storm. They always say social media, but what they forget is the mainstream media was just the same. But it's obviously completely different situation. I think people just could not believe that Nicola, it still seems strange to me, Nicola's case. I'm not 100% certain that she accidentally got in that river. That was my feeling at the time, and that is still my feeling, that there may be more to it. I don't believe necessarily that she accidentally fell into the river, but I don't know what happened. But anyway, again, it was that sort of mass hysteria, wasn't it, that took over. So she too was the subject to unhinged conspiracy theories even after her body was found in the River Wyre on February the 19th. Well, that's because Peter Fraudlin had told everybody she definitely wasn't in the river. And then later he said, oh, yeah, he found her within a minute. But he made it all worse as well. An inquest concluded she died from accidental drowning. Yeah, it was a stranger case. That I don't feel that with this case. I feel this case is really straightforward. Jay, unfortunately, he fell to his death. Over he got lost, and anyway, that's my opinion, as you know. So, in the aftermath of Jay's death, Miss Duncan is still struggling to come to terms with what has happened. She's left her job as a finance assistant at a local school where the family lived, and she's received private counselling sessions. There have been days she doesn't want to get up as she's been struggling with her mental health. My God, I bet she is. She still hasn't unpacked Jay's case from Tenerife. Imagine that, and then his luggage comes back. You brought your son's body back in a body bag, and then you've got his suitcase. And she heartbreakingly admits that she often opens it up just to smell his clothes before closing it back up again. According to her, Jay made some wrong decisions, and she confesses there could have been so many different outcomes as to what happened that night. Yeah, it could have all happened. There's Nicola, bless her. Yeah. Oh, let's have a look at it. So this was the funeral. We watched the funeral. Very emotional. It was people could watch it on the live stream outside, but only certain people. It was private inside, and then there was the burial itself was private, I think. You don't expect to have to bury your. Oh, look. You don't expect to have to bury your 19-year-old son, do you? No. Oh. Very sad. Very, very sad. And they were all in blue, of course. Debbie's request. So, oh God, that was the Queen's funeral on there. Anyway, despite a huge search effort, Jay was found dead close to the village of Masca on the 15th of July, nearly an hour's drive from his apartment at Playa de las Americas. The inquest heard he had been drinking and taking drugs the night before, and he told friends he planned to walk back to his hotel, even though he had no water and no phone battery left. The court heard analysis which showed traces of drugs, including cocaine, ketamine, and ecstasy, along with alcohol in his body. And Home Office pathologist Dr. Richard Shepherd, he has a very good reputation, said his post-mortem examination gave the cause of death as head injuries, and Jay's body showed no evidence of restraint or assault, with the pattern of injuries consistent with a fall from a height. So Jay's family hope to finally put the conspiracy theories to bed. They've got no chance. I don't think it'll put any. The thing is, people I've seen from comments on just when I came on my video that I put out, just saying when the documentary will be. Some people will never be convinced, but there you go. So Jay's family hopes to finally put the conspiracy theories to bed by speaking out ahead of a Candor Productions company documentary for Channel 4, The Disappearance of Jay Slater, which airs on Sunday, September the 28th at 9 p.m. And Miss Duncan, along with Jay's father, Warren, 59, and older brother, Zach, 25, gave TV producers unprecedented access to Jay's story by sharing highly personal home footage, as well as coverage from inside Jay's funeral. Cameras were even allowed into his post-mortem. Warren hopes that by showing the T-shirt and trainers Jay wore the night he died, it will put an end to the cruel conspiracy theories their son is still alive. Well, do you know what? You shouldn't have to show the T-shirt and trainers that Jay wore the night he died. You know, that's terrible, isn't it? That you'd feel that you had to do that just to prove that your son was dead. Good God. Oh, no, I didn't see this. So this is some reporter from the Daily Mail trying to show the terrain. It's interesting. I hadn't seen it before. Sorry, you have to sit through a little advert, I think.
For the past 2.5 hours, I have walked, scrambled and climbed through this ravine here, a short distance from the village of Masca on the island of Tenerife. And a couple of 100 yards behind me is where the Spanish authorities found the body of the missing British teenager.
Oh, that's where, in my opinion, Jay was aiming for. That those rocks that go down and you've got the sea at the back. He was thinking, oh, he's going to the beach.
Jay Slater.
Oh, you can see it there.
The authorities described the terrain here as steep and inaccessible. I think that's something of an understatement. It's no surprise that the body wasn't found for quite such a long time, because it really is the most challenging terrain I've ever experienced. This terrain is impenetrable, steep and inaccessible, just like the authorities said, but that almost doesn't do it justice.
Yeah, I think he was aiming for that V shape there. Probably just seemed like a good idea and he thought he could get to it. But, you know, you can't see just how lethal it is. I mean, you know, we've seen videos of experienced hikers, but people go hiking there. I have no idea why, just beyond me, why anybody would want to go hiking there. You know, it's just rocks, isn't it? For God's sake, it's not. But anyway, people like doing those kind of things for some unknown reason. Yeah, I've not seen this video before. It's a very good video to show just how dangerous it was. And of course, Jay, he was just wearing trainers. It wasn't even with proper hiking gear and that. And he'd, you know, been partying for 3 days. Be very easy to fall. Even, and he, you know, because he's a young, fit lad, you know, bricklayer and that. He probably thought he'd be okay. And then he got lost. And he got lost and he didn't know where he was and he couldn't find his way back. And he fell. That, you know, to me, it seems quite evident that that's what happened to him, bless him. You know, nobody's going to take, in my opinion, nobody's going to take a dead body up there or take somebody up there to hit him over the head and throw him into the ravine. You imagine Ayub up there, Ayub and Rocky, what, up there pushing Jay off the edge. Come on. It just seems ludicrous to me. So, you know, poor Jay. God bless. Very scary terrain. You know, very, very scary. The end of the... So Meta, the parent company of Facebook, along with TikTok and YouTube, have publicly available misinformation policies, but they never take anything down. Meta's lengthy policy states it will remove misinformation likely to directly contribute to the risk of imminent physical harm or interference with the functioning of political processes. They partner with third-party fact-checking organisations, the same as TikTok, oh God, which check the accuracy of most viral content. Their community standards also ban fake accounts, fraud, and coordinated inauthentic behaviour. YouTube has a similar policy in place and states that certain types of misleading or deceptive content with serious risk of egregious harm are not allowed on its platform. And TikTok's website states we don't allow misinformation that could cause significant harm to individuals or society, no matter the intent of the person posting it. They don't take anything down. So, you know, that's all just word salad from that, you know, there are some things, you know, that they're right on top of, but it's not misinformation. They're things they don't like you talking about, like children. What I've noticed is when I do a video about missing children or children that have been killed, YouTube are right there with they don't take it down, they just take the monetization off it, so won't put adverts on it. They don't take it down. And yet you see other things sort of on there that you think, why has that not been taken down? It's anyway, I don't think they really, you know, make much effort to stop misinformation. I've just gone on X just before making this video. X is completely full of misinformation. You know, I've never seen so much misinformation. I've reported loads of tweets to X. They take absolutely no notice. Because, you know, when you know something is not true or it's just so nasty sometimes, you just think, why do people have to be so nasty? Anyway, I just thought I'd tell you about that. In case you didn't know, I think the videos were interesting to watch. I'm looking forward to watching the documentary on Sunday. I think it'll be interesting. I hope people will watch the documentary and maybe feel a bit bad about if they've said bad things about Debbie or the family, etc. Never from day one have I said anything bad about Jay's family. I think the way Debbie was treated is disgusting. Disgusting. You know, yeah, a GoFundMe was set up and the GoFundMe raised about £80,000, but every case nowadays sets up a GoFundMe. Nobody, I think that is the biggest vitriol that I've ever seen. I mean, there was that with Nicola Bulley, but that GoFundMe went up so quickly for Nicola Bulley, and it was for 100,000, wasn't it, to begin with, which was ridiculous because, you know, they didn't even know anything. I mean, the GoFundMe that was set up for Jay Slater was quite, you know, about a week after he'd gone missing. And I know that money was used to get the search team out from Holland to, you know, unfortunately, Debbie made some errors of judgment with some of the people, like Paul Arnott, the weirdo from down the Rapids. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but he is, though. He's doing some very strange things now. I think she put her trust in the wrong people. In the beginning, there was another guy that I can't even remember his name now. There was a few, because she just wanted help to find her son, and she sent money out to people to bring them over to Tenerife or to pay for Paul Arnott. She paid for his bloody mountaineering clothing and things that he left there. You know, he's a very strange person. Oh. Sorry, looks like it's going to storm here in Spain, just to let you know. All the sky's got a very strange colour. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know about that. Let me know what you think in comments. I know you'll all have your views, and some of you, I think, are immovable in the fact that you feel that there's more to this story. And, you know, that's your view, as long as you're not nasty, obviously, about the family. All your views are welcome, whether they agree with mine or not. Okay, I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, as always, may your God go with you. Oh, please like and subscribe. Bye.